Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Aces High, and today I'm bringing you guys the sixth part, the final part of Epic History TV's Napoleonic Wars series. Now, I'm really excited because I'm loving this, and I was told recently by some subscribers that this series actually continues in a bunch of different ways. So, starting tomorrow, I'm actually going to be starting the Epic History TV Napoleonic Marshal, so Napoleon's Marshals series. Basically, it breaks down, it teaches you all about all of his various different marshals, and I'm super excited to check that out because some of them just, they've had incredible lives. You know, married to his sister, put in charge of several kingdoms, just different things like that. Um, I'm really looking forward to it. Hope you guys stick around for it. On that note, if you guys haven't hit the sub button, make sure you hit that sub button and ring the bell because I do come out with videos every day, and you don't want to miss it. I'm going to shut up, but this one's called Napoleon's Revenge, and let's get watching.
In May 1809, the Austrians had defeated Napoleon's army in the bloody Battle of Aspern. His enemies took heart. After years of French military dominance, it seemed the tide was turning at last. 3 weeks later, Pope Pius VII excommunicated Napoleon for annexing papal land. Another propaganda coup for his enemies. But in the wake of its victory, Austria hesitated, not sure whether to seek peace or continue the war, while Napoleon responded with a hurricane of activity. He summoned reinforcements to join him near Vienna. The Army of Italy, under his stepson Eugène de Beauharnais, and 11th Corps under Marshal Marmont, who'd together driven Archduke John's Austrian army out of North Italy, as well as Marshal Bernadotte's Saxon 9th Corps. Napoleon's army grew from 90,000 to a massive 164,000 men and 544 guns, to take on Charles's army of 128,000 and 414 guns.
If Napoleon plays this smart, he should definitely be able to win just based off numbers alone. Not to mention, many of his are very well trained, many of his soldiers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at the beginning he was somewhere around 100, somewhere between 150 and 190,000 when the series first started. So, I mean, he's right back up there right now. Yeah, he should be able to win this, but we'll see what happens. I know the ending of Napoleon. I know that. So.
Guns. 6 weeks after his first attempt had ended in defeat, Napoleon ordered his army to cross the river once more. This time, his engineers had built solid bridges across the Danube to ensure there was no repeat of the disasters of Aspern. For the French army, Napoleon declared, the Danube no longer exists. The stage was set for the largest battle yet seen in European history. On the evening of the 4th of July, in heavy rain, the French began crossing from the island of Lobau, not towards the devastated villages of Aspern and Essling, but east towards Groß-Enzersdorf, which was soon ablaze from French shells.
Wow.
Archduke Charles had left only a small advance guard to delay the French. By dawn, General Massena's 4th Corps and Oudinot's 2nd Corps were driving those troops back, winning space for the French army to deploy. At 1 p.m, Napoleon was ready to begin his advance across 6 miles of flat cornfields towards the main Austrian position, an escarpment known as the Wagram, 100 meters behind the Russbach stream. As General Lasalle's light cavalry and Massena's 4th Corps swung left to guard the flank, Oudinot's 2nd Corps and Davout's 3rd Corps advanced towards the Wagram. Bernadotte's Saxon Corps and Eugène's Army of Italy filled the centre. At 6 p.m, unsure of the enemy's strength, Napoleon ordered a full-scale assault against the Wagram plateau. But his troops met determined Austrian resistance along the line, By dusk, the Saxon Ninth Corps had pushed into the village of Deutsch Wagram. The Saxon infantry wore white uniforms, like the Austrians, and as darkness fell, were mistaken for the enemy and fired on by friendly units. The Saxons panicked and fled with heavy losses.
Wow.
Napoleon's attempt at a quick breakthrough had failed.
I've got a question. Was it common to split people up based off of areas that you've taken over, or that have specific regions, I guess? For instance, he said the Saxon Ninth Corps, but I thought that if they had a number, they were a permanent corps. So if it has a number, I assume that would be it's a permanent corps, but they're made up of Saxons only? Was that common, I guess, to split up? Yeah, just let me know in the comments what you guys think.
That night, both armies slept in the open, while Charles and Napoleon planned their next moves. On the second day, Napoleon planned for Davout's Third Corps to lead the attack, rolling up the Austrian flank, while his other corps pinned down the enemy with local attacks.
Davout, the Third Corps is very strong too.
To the Emperor's fury, he learned that overnight, without orders, Marshal Bernadotte had withdrawn his battered Saxons from Aderklaa, which the Austrians now occupied. Aderklaa was a crucial strongpoint in the centre of the battlefield. Napoleon gave orders for its immediate recapture, but the French and Saxon attack failed, with heavy losses. The Austrians had their own problems. Archduke Charles, knowing he faced a superior enemy, had decided his only chance of victory lay in an all-out dawn attack. He was relying on his brother, Archduke John, reaching him with 13,000 reinforcements, in time to support the attack on the left. But by dawn, there was still no sign of him. What's more, as Fourth Corps began its assault on Grosshofen, on time, Third Corps, which had received its orders late, was still getting into position, holding up the entire Austrian right wing. Charles had to tell Fourth Corps to abort its unsupported attack until the other corps were ready. With the Austrians paralyzed by delays, at 10 a.m., Davout began his attack.
Okay.
A fierce infantry battle erupted in the village of Markgraf Neusiedl, while in the fields, dragoons and hussars fought a giant whirling cavalry battle, as each side tried to outflank the other. Davout's corps took the village, though they couldn't stop the Austrians withdrawing to a strong new position on the Wagram escarpment. Meanwhile, a serious threat had developed to Napoleon's left flank and rear.
Wow.
Klenau's 6th Corps had driven back the outnumbered French, with some units advancing as far as Essling, dangerously close to Napoleon's vital river crossings. Napoleon urgently needed to reinforce his left flank, but he was also determined to hold back his reserves for a decisive attack. So he ordered Massena's 4th Corps to march across the battlefield and reinforce the left. A huge redeployment like this, right in front of the enemy, was high risk. So Marshal Bessières was ordered to lead a cavalry attack straight against the enemy centre.
Wow. That's probably heavy
Casualties
losses.
were high.
Oh yeah.
Even Marshal Bessières had his horse killed under him, to the alarm of his men. But the enemy was kept busy, while 4th Corps completed its redeployment and forced Klenau's corps to fall back.
Okay. That's a scary move, you know. If you're the enemy and you're watching Napoleon's army redeploy, I'd think that they're kind of freaking out and they're scrambling. You know, I wouldn't necessarily think of it as a strategic move, which it was, and it would probably give me a little bit of not excitement, but like ambition to kind of want to fight harder. So that's a tough move.
Napoleon now assembled a grand battery of more than 80 cannon in the centre of the battlefield. This was one of Napoleon's trademark tactics, a concentration of artillery to blast the enemy line and pave the way for a decisive French attack. The Grand Battery fired an estimated 15,000 rounds, setting light to the cornfields. Around 1 p.m, Napoleon ordered a general attack. As Davout continued to batter at the enemy flank, 4th Corps would advance on the left, 2nd Corps on the right, while in the centre, General MacDonald would lead forward 8,000 men of the Army of Italy, formed up in a giant three-sided square to secure his flanks. But despite the terrible French cannonade, Austrian 3rd Corps and Grenadiers of the Reserve met the French advance with torrential fire. MacDonald's giant square was cut to pieces, its men mowed down en masse by cannon fire, and the attack stalled. But the Austrian...
It's looking... I mean, Napoleon's holding out, and he still has a lot of backup corps. What, the 11th Corps, his Imperial Guard, the Cavalry Reserve, all that's back here, and looks like the 9th Corps is... I mean, I guess they're on the line, but not entirely. He's still got a lot of troops he can send out, but it's not looking so good.
An army, battered by relentless French attacks, was near breaking point. Every part of the line was under pressure from the French. Archduke Charles, determined above all to keep his army intact, ordered a retreat. The Austrian withdrawal was disciplined and well executed. Napoleon had his victory.
Okay.
But his army was also so shattered by fatigue and heavy losses,
I'm calling it right now. He lost 68,000 people.
it was unable to launch any effective pursuit.
Oh, come on. You're not going to tell me numbers?
The Battle of Wagram was a brutal slugging match, the biggest and bloodiest battle yet seen in European history.
Wow.
French victory came at unprecedented cost. An estimated 37,500 casualties.
That's lower than I thought.
Against 41,500 Austrian. 4 days later, French troops caught up with the retreating Austrians at Znaim. As the fighting escalated, Charles knew he could not withstand the French a second time, and asked for a ceasefire. But he had not consulted his older brother, Emperor Francis, who was furious when he heard the news, not least because long-awaited British support was finally on the way. 3 weeks after the Battle of Znaim, the largest amphibious force Britain had ever assembled, 35 ships of the line and 39,000 troops, landed at Walcheren Island on the Scheldt estuary. Its aim was to destroy French shipping and naval stores. But following the successful bombardment and capture of Vlissingen, British commanders let the initiative slip from their grasp. Their force was bottled up by French troops on the marshy Dutch coast, where it was decimated by fever and dysentery. About 4,000 died. Many more became permanent invalids.
I know that dysentery was a serious problem back in the day, but could you imagine if as a country you gathered such a large force and then many of them just die of fever and dysentery? Like an abnormally high percentage, it's got to be a kick in the groin.
The survivors were evacuated back to England in December. Emperor Francis, informed of the British debacle and persuaded by his generals that Austria couldn't fight on, made peace with Napoleon. In October, Austria signed the Treaty of Schonbrunn, giving up territory to the French Empire, Bavaria, Saxony, the Duchy of Warsaw, and Russia. In total, the Austrian Empire was stripped of 3.5 million subjects, forced to pay an indemnity, limit its army to 150,000 men, and joined Napoleon's continental system, which meant ending all trade with British ships and merchants.
Wow, so after all that, Napoleon won. That's incredible. Or at least I'd call it a victory, you know. I wasn't sure he'd pull out in that one. I thought he might have to retreat.
Duke Charles, meanwhile, one of Napoleon's more skilled opponents, had fallen out so bitterly with his brother, Emperor Francis, that he never held active command again.
Wow.
Napoleon had won another crushing victory, but there were worrying signs for the French emperor. His enemies were learning, while he would increasingly have to rely on young conscripts to fill the gaps left by veterans killed or wounded on campaign. Few could have guessed in 1809, but Napoleon had just fought his last victorious campaign.
Really? Alright, you guys, let's have a chat about that. That was the Napoleonic Wars by Epic History TV, parts 1 through 6. I've been told that there's more parts, and I'm super excited about it. In the future, in the coming days, I'm actually going to be seeing if I can find a few more parts on that take off right after this. If not, then I'm going to hop right into the Napoleon's marshals. I want to learn more about them. And if you guys have any other suggestions, I'm all ears. I'm always down to check out some new videos, some really high quality videos. And yeah, I'm just really excited to check it out. One note, if you do tell me a different channel, I'm respectful of the channels. I always make sure that I get their permission to use their videos. So it might take me a little bit to get permission because they don't always respond right away or at all. And I have to try several different ways, Instagram, Facebook, you know, email, all kinds of different things sometimes. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions for me, let me know. And if you haven't subbed, hit that sub button. It really does help because, I mean, it'll help me. It'll help you. You'll be notified of videos. Who doesn't want that? Anyway, till next time, this is Aces High, and I'm out.